Thank you. This will start with Peter for this one, and this is a question that is posed by the Barnstable Village Civic Association, which will be hosting the two of you on October 26th at Tales of Cape Cod at 7 o'clock. Do you believe the village concept has any relevance in the allocation of town resources? And if so, do you believe how do you believe financial resources should be allocated among the villages? And we will start with Peter.
I think that we, as a town, we have resources. We should look at all our villages as gems. We should try to make each village special, but still under the concept of a town. Resources need to be allocated as to you have to be able to prioritize. And in some cases, there could be a disaster in one village which you'll need to take resources from other villages or whatever in order to deal with an immediacy or an emergency. But overall, I think that and an example of that may have been, but it turned out that we were able to get federal and state funds, was the bulkhead disaster that took place in Barnstable Harbor. My opponent sought to do an override immediately. Fortunately, others prevailed and we were able to get federal and state funds. It could have cost the town $3.1 million. Instead, we had the help from outside sources. But villages need to be nurtured, and we need, again, Barnstable Village needs support from the other villages, but so do the other villages as well. I do think that Barnstable Village has been, let's say, not the number one priority in the town. And that's not to say that Ann hasn't worked hard. It's just that Hyannis in the downtown area got a number one priority, and I think they did a great job down there. And I think Osterville has done a great job. I think Kentuit feels, and I've spoken to Kentuit residents, they feel that they've been sort of shorted in the idea of funds and allocation. So I can understand how citizens feel that way. We need to work as a community, and if everyone gets involved, it would be a lot easier way of being able to break down how to allocate those funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Ann?
Need to correct something again. First of all, I did float an override after trying every other method to get funds for the bulkhead. I floated it. I withdrew it voluntarily. It was nothing to do with other level heads. Also, it was all state funds and town funds that financed the bulkhead, no federal funds. It took an awful lot of work on my part and on the Friends of Barnstable Harbor's part to get those funds, working with Senator O'Leary, writing letters, supporting grants, and it was not an easy task. But to answer your question directly, I think allocations should be done fairly and without bias and according to need and priority. So if a bulkhead needs fixing in Barnstable Village, and that may become the priority. If something else needs to be done in Kentuit, that may be the priority. And I have supported my fellow councilors in when they bring forth issues in their villages. There are, after all, 13 councilors and 7 villages, and Hyannis is represented by 4, Centerville 3, Marston's Mills 2, and then there's 1 for each of Kentuit, West Barnstable, Barnstable, and Osterville. So you have to try a little harder and bring in other voices. That's why we have a civic association and a Friends of Barnstable Harbor and a business association to accelerate my voice. I have been labeled village-centric on occasion, and I think that was probably meant not to be a compliment, but I take that and wear that with pride, because after all, I do represent that village. They have elected me, and that is my #1 priority. I do support town projects, but I do pay special attention and focus on my village, who elect me and who I represent.
Thank you. Response?
No.